Hello and welcome to the Dental Labcast. My name is Jenna.
My name is Andrea.
Please follow and subscribe to support our show and to make sure that you never miss an episode.
Welcome to the next episode of the Dental Labcast.
Hello, Shaenna. I'm Jenna. Thanks for joining us today. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And thanks for inviting me along. It's really good to be here. My name is Shaenna Loughnane. I'm Chief Exec of Bridge2Aid. So we're a charity working mostly in East Africa, so Tanzania and Malawi, and we also do some work in the UK now as well. So yeah, we're a training and educating charity. So all the work that we do is around training kind of local people and working with local people within, as I say, Tanzania and Malawi, and now in the UK as well. So that's what we do.
Sounds really good. I don't really know a lot about, the charities. Obviously, I know Dentech have worked with you on a recent trip, was that?
Yeah, we went over with Bridge2Aid in February. So Shaenna invited us over there to see if we could do some sort of collaborative work with her.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just kind of give you a very quick potted kind of history of what we do and why we ended up having the partnership with Edinburgh and Dentech, which is a very exciting partnership for us, by the way. We've been working in Tanzania since 2004. And as I say, we're a training charity. So the programs that we run at the moment in Tanzania, as an example, there are 600 dentists serving 70 million people. So there's a real problem with access to care. So we work with the Ministry of Health and with the Tanzanian Dental Association to try and, increase access to care, but also increase oral health literacy. Because if people have never been told how to care for their teeth and they'll never see a dentist, let's try and prevent disease happening in the first place. So our programs are around, one, as I say, the training. So we train nurses and community health workers and people out in the villages how to deliver oral health education sessions. And then our main program, we run an outreach program where we see typically about 2,000 patients over a couple of weeks. But the absolute kind of key to that is the training. So although we see all those patients, we're also training the dental therapists that are going to be staying in those areas when we go home. So up until now, it's mostly been around about training in how to take out teeth safely, infection control, some kind of basic skills. But the ministry's recently asked us to increase and grow what we're training. So they've now asked us to train them how to make simple dentures and do endodontics. So the denture work, we just felt that we're not experts in that field. And obviously Dentech are. So I can't even remember how we had the initial conversation, but we had it. And it just felt it was the right thing to do, to partner, so that we brought experts in that area to come. So Andrea joined us in February, which was absolutely amazing. She was fantastic.
So how did you find it having Dentech with you, with technicians? How did that change the dynamics of things, of how you worked over in Tanzania, is it?
Well, the programs that we'd run before, where we were making dentures, they were being made by Tanzanian technicians, but we weren't training the dental therapists. So we were literally making them so that the patients that came to the outreach could have the dentures, which is really important. It's because it's about, in the past we focused very much on getting people out of pain, and now it's more about the whole kind of being, and it's about giving people. So it's really important to kind of give people those smiles, and it's about the whole person, not just taking out teeth. So in the past we were using local technicians, which was great. The way that Dentech were able to improve that program. So Andrea came, and most of her work was in training the Tanzanian technicians to be trainers. So she wasn't coming out to make those dentures. She was coming out to train the technicians, the Tanzanian technicians, to be able to train the dental therapists to make them. So it's a really sustainable model. And it's something we could not have ever thought we would do. So it was brilliant.
And I think the technicians that Shaenna's got working with her and the team are excellent technicians, but it's still very stereotypical in the fact that the technicians kept themselves to themselves in the lab, and they slogged and they did so much work, and the clinic would just send work to them, and they didn't really understand what their role was in training the therapists up and how they should do it, and the therapists weren't really feeling like that was their place to be, and it was all a very strange dynamic. They're all very good at what they're doing, but they just weren't clicking, were they? They weren't just sort of gelling into place. So throughout the week, we did quite a bit of work with them, and by the end, we were basically ushering people out of the lab. Everyone wanted to come in and have a go, and it was a really happy, buzzing place. And the relationship between the clinic and the lab was absolutely fantastic. And like, you know, the setup that Shaenna's got over there, the amount of like different things that you were doing was just absolutely outstanding. There's so many different clinics doing so many different things. They were juggling so many balls. It's just, you know, amazing to witness, and just absolute privilege for us to be a part of.
So over in Tanzania, when if you've got dentists, how do the dentists, are these registered trained dentists? That how does all that work with the clinical side as well as the lab side and the funding and things like that?
Well, funding, that's a big question, isn't it? Let's get political. So in Tanzania, I say there's 600 dentists and they're all based in the cities. So we actually work with the dental therapists. So we do have some dentists on the programs, but they're there as trainers. So our trainees are all dental therapists. So the government recognised that to try and, when a dentist leaves dental school, they either go to the cities or they leave the country. So they've got this strategy to try and encourage dental therapists to come from their villages to get trained and then to go back to their villages, and they work for the government. So they're government-funded dental therapists. But the scope of practice for a therapist in Tanzania is completely different to the UK. So they can make dentures, they can do endodontics, they can crown adult teeth. So it's completely different. So it's pretty much the same as a dentist here, but they just haven't had the training. So they're allowed to do these things, but they've not necessarily had the training to do it. So that's why they've asked Bridge2Aid to come in and deliver that training so the therapists can work to their full scope of practice.
Effectively, a therapist is basically, is that like a dentist and a technician in one?
Yeah, so they do everything. But now that they're having to make dentures, they're suddenly becoming technicians as well. So there are a few technicians in the country. I think you met Mr. Mandela, didn't you? There's one that works, but there's one, for example, one technician for the whole of Mwanza region. There's 3.7 million people. So he can't be responsible for making all of the dentures for all of those people. So we're training the therapists in cold cure acrylic. I mean, I won't talk technically about what you're doing, to be honest. It looked amazing. But we're teaching them to be able to do that in their clinics. Yeah, so they're doing everything. And each dental therapist has around about 250,000 people that they're responsible for.
It's quite a lot then.
Quite a lot, yeah, which is why we need Dentech doing the training.
Yeah, and this is the thing, they're being trained to do simple dentures. So they're not being expected to be fully qualified technicians. But as Shaenna says, like, there are no technicians in those areas. They just can't possibly service everywhere. And these therapists are going out and living and working in quite remote areas, aren't they? So these people just wouldn't be able to have these restorations without them. So it's not taking work away from technicians. It's not making them suddenly be technicians. It's just giving them the ability to be able to at least restore some function and dignity to their local communities where they're just so far away from the population centres. They would never, ever be able to access that service otherwise.
Do they receive all this quite well then, or is it a little bit of friction at first when you say that, we're not coming to take anything away from things? Do they handle it well and accept all that help?
You mean the technicians?
All of them, really?
I mean, the technicians are actually fine with it because they know that they can't do everything, don't they? There's only so much that they can do. And it's not like over in the UK where we think, oh, that's going to take work away from us. We're going to lose money because of this, because there are so few of them. They're never going to be out of work. And these people aren't being trained to replace them either. So, from that side of things, I can't speak about the clinical side, but from the technician side, once they realised what they were being asked to do, they were like, actually, yeah, I can see why they need to do that. And we're more than happy to show them now we understand what our role is in this.
Yeah, and to be honest, they soak up most of the therapists. You get lots of different characters, but the majority of the therapists that we're training, they're there because they want to learn. They're there because they want to serve their communities. They want to get better. They kind of are soaking up that knowledge. And if you're working on your own for that many people, it's isolating and it's lonely. So the 2 weeks they come on a program, they get to meet colleagues from the UK. They get to meet their colleagues from Tanzania. They learn all of this. So the therapists take it very, very positively. And as you say, the technicians, there are so few of them. And they obviously really believe in their work. But they're literally just being taught how to make simple dentures. So it's not the full scope of a technician.
So apart from when you guys go in there and help with this training, do they not have any access to any other parts of training at all then in between these times?
No.
I mean, Shaenna's saying no, but she does support them through online webinars and mentorship as well, don't you?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yes, we do. So at the moment they do the 2-week skills program, and then we do a 6-month mentoring where we do we offer webinars in lots of different subjects. So Andrea kindly came and ran a webinar for our trained therapists, and we're just about to put together a manual. So I'm looking at you smiling, hoping you'll help us. A pre-learning manual. So they've done some pre-reading and some pre-learning online before they actually arrive at the skills training to do that.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, we're always happy to help because, that's what we were set up to do. So actually being able to, we can't be, as much as I would love to be, like all things for all people all the time, because none of us can be everywhere at once. So actually pooling our skills and working in partnership with other dental charities enables us all to be able to work to our best and utilize our skills to the max, not trying to be, as a clinician can't do all the lab things, the lab can't do all the clinical things. So yeah, like working together is what we need to do to enable everybody to do the best they can. There's not enough charities to help everybody throughout all of the different countries. So even if Dentech wanted to go and do everything themselves, or Bridge2Aid wanted to go and do everything themselves, it's just not possible. There's just too much that needs doing, and I don't think it will ever be done, really, will it? Because when you've finished with one area, you are then moving on to another area, aren't you?
Yeah, so we're moving on. So in the Mwanza region, we've now trained all 30 therapists. So from July, we're now moving to a different region and training those therapists. So yeah, we're trying to, rather than kind of dot all over the country and in lots of different countries, our goal is to kind of really make a systemic change in one country to that population, and slowly move around the different districts so that we know that everything's covered. Because I think sometimes if you kind of, which is what you do in Uganda, you kind of focus on one place and do it well, and have those relationships. Because I think if you're dotting here, there and everywhere, nothing's sustainable and it doesn't work. So there's lots of values between Dentech and Bridge2Aid that are very similar. So that's why the partnership works so well. But yeah.
So when you go out there, how long do you typically spend training people?
So it's literally a 2-week program. So they have 2 weeks, and at the end of that, they've taken on so much. It's quite intense. And I say we see about 2,000 patients. So they have a lot of patients that they can treat and train on, if that makes sense. So we have 4 or 5 programs a year, each for 2 weeks, and each training 8 dental therapists.
Wow, that is quite intensive, isn't it? To have all that training in 2 weeks. Is it just dentures, or is there other sorts of training like crowns, bridges, anything like that?
No, as far as the dental technicians, it's just dentures. We've got 5 areas that the Ministry of Health have asked us to focus on, and one of those is dentures. One is endodontics. One is behavioural management within children. One is it's testing me now. Draining of abscess, and one is ART and composites. So there are 5 things that they've asked us to focus on with the training of the therapists.
Yeah. And I think from the lab perspective as well, they're not going to be able to do more than that, because just being able to provide the equipment even, we took over a couple of bits and bobs. Shaenna's team's obviously got some lab equipment there, but these therapists also need to have that equipment to be able to do the work. So they can't be having complex, crown and bridge equipment and that kind of thing. They just need to keep it really, really simple. Just a hydro flask, cold cure acrylics, a few basic shades of teeth. It's really, really very basic dental laboratory work that they're doing. It's massively effective for the people, but this is not setting up the big, massive services in these areas. It's just really very basic dentistry. And the lab side is, as Shaenna says, it's a very small part of the training that they're doing. So there's a lot for these therapists to take on in a very short period of time.
It is a small part, but I think for the patients, it's massive, isn't it? And you saw that, it's kind of, I've thought of the word now, dignity. So, in the past, as I say, we focused on taking people out of pain and preventing disease, but actually it's about patient dignity as well. And rather than just taking out two front teeth of an 18-year-old girl, let's give her dignity back and replace that with a simple denture. And it's a life-changing difference to her. So it is a small part, but I think for the patients, it's actually one of the most important things. Definitely.
With you saying there that an 18-year-old girl having to front teeth taken out, do you find that there's a lot of younger generations over there that are needing dental treatment?
Yeah, because only 0.5% of children within Tanzania will ever see a dentist. So, yes, and because oral health literacy is so low, they're not sure, they're not aware of how to kind of maintain their own teeth and look after their own teeth. So that's why we do a lot of work around education as well. But yeah, a mixture of old and young, and people that have been in pain for 4 or 5 years. They'll come and see us. We can get them out of pain and then replace their dignity. Yeah.
So when you've covered all of these areas that you go to, is it once a year or is it a couple of times a year? And what happens when you've kind of covered all of those areas? Do you move somewhere else altogether and then start again?
Yeah, so when all the therapists in one particular area are trained, we will move on. We run 4 or 5 trips a year now. So it's not constant, but it's quite a lot. And we're starting to work in Malawi in September. We've got our first program in Malawi there, which is very exciting. But Tanzania is a massive country, so 70 million population, which is about the same as the UK, isn't it? But in terms of land mass, it's a huge country. So I think if we carried on as the rate we were doing, we would never finish, which is why we're training the trainers now. So we're hoping some of the Tanzanian people will start doing the training.
And going forward, will that be something that the Dentech will come with you and join forces again? Is this something that will be a thing going forward with Dentech and Bridge2Aid?
Personally, I hope so. We need to look at the best way of kind of using your skills and our skills and how we're going to best move forward, I think, with that. But in terms of the partnership, it was really, really positive. I think it worked really well. So I personally, from Bridge2Aid's point of view, would love to see how we can kind of build on that initial partnership, yes.
And I think, from a Dentech point of view, we just mirror that as well, because being able to go out and just use our specialist skills in a really positive way and just seeing the impact that this doesn't just affect a patient that we made a denture for, or that, Shaenna's team's made a denture for, or that the therapists have made a denture for. This is upskilling people to be able to provide that service for years to come. It's giving them lifelong skills that's going to have a massive impact on their local communities forever, ongoing, so it's not just a drop in the ocean. It's a hand up. It's not a hand out, which is why, we align so well with what Bridge2Aid is doing, because Dentech is just also very passionate about upskilling people. It's not about going in, doing a bit of treatment and then leaving. It's about actually going in and giving people the skills, the tools and the knowledge to actually help their own communities and just be self-sustainable going forward. The ideal is that we don't need to be needed anymore. That's when we know we've succeeded.
I think for any charity working internationally and in that kind of context, that has to be the goal, to put yourself out of a job, because it has to be that everything we've done enough training and upskilled enough people that then just keeps on flowing through. So
what are the facilities like that they have over in these places that you go to? Do they have enough materials and the buildings that they're working in, clinical aspects?
So we're working in remote clinics. So we all move in, and our Tanzanian team that we're partners with, they'll just go in and bring all the chairs and all the materials and all the equipment. So we have a central store of everything, and that gets taken. So none of that stuff is there before we get there. So it's just mobile chairs that we're using. The Ministry of Health have recently said they're going to put a dental chair in every single district within Tanzania. So there'll be a working chair with handpieces and everything they need. But no, it's very, very basic. We tend to come in and do some refurbishment work first, just to make sure it's clean and it's got everything it needs. And then we move in with all the equipment just for 2 weeks, and then we're out again. So, yeah.
So with one dental chair, you say, in one place, how do they fight over that dental chair?
Well, to be honest, there's not many people that can use it. So in a district, as I say, about 250,000 people, there'll be one therapist and one chair. So it's a lot of people, but there'll only be one dental therapist in that district.
And what are the working conditions like with hours if there's one dental therapist working for such a massive population, really, that must be long days, maybe working into the evenings, and the need of dental treatment, is that really high as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the need is huge. So, yeah, they work hard. The reason why the ministry is recruiting therapists from their villages, training them and then sending them back to the villages, is just so that there's continuous care, and also that they're kind of embedded in those communities, and the communities know them rather than people from the outside coming in. So, yeah, they work hard, they care about their communities, and they just kind of want to do it in the best way they can.
And do you have any kind of like special moments where you've helped a patient that's kind of stuck with you when you've gone over to do this training, or even with training someone to be training a technician or a therapist, so to speak? Is there anything stuck with you throughout your time going over there?
Probably the one that sticks with me, but it's not a denture case. There's some amazing denture stories. It was a few years ago, and that was a young girl again. And I think she was something like about 14, and she just rocked up at the clinic on her own. She'd walked 3 hours to get to us. And she had an externally draining sinus, so the infection had nowhere to go, so it created a hole inside of her face. And she came in, and we have obviously translators, and she said that she'd been going into school, but because the pus was dripping onto the shoulder of the child next to her, the teachers had asked her to leave. So her education was over, and the village had asked if she could move. There's the kind of central village, and asked her family as well, had asked her to move outside of the village on her own because of the smell from her externally draining sinus. And it was just a really, really touching story. And on that program, we were training the person that in the future she could have gone to. Up until then, she didn't have a dentist. She didn't know how to look after her own teeth. And that's why that pus was falling on her classmates' shoulders. And knowing that we've now trained someone, so if that happens to another 14-year-old girl, there's someone that they can go to and have treatment from. And so that one really stuck with me.
Did this girl eventually get the treatment that she needed? And was she able to go back to her village?
Yeah, so she was able to go back to the village. I don't know whether she ever went back to school. I don't know. That was probably, I'd imagine that was her education over. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't realise, because conditions over there are so different, aren't they? And there's things that we take for granted here that just don't happen over there at all. And it can end people's lives, their relationships. I mean, throughout all of our work, we'll have heard like so many stories that we just think this just would never happen in the UK. I mean, we moan about our NHS, we moan about our dental services, but this kind of stuff just would not happen over here. So to be able to go over there and train people up who can actually even spot that and refer that or understand what it is, or say, actually, if you start doing this, it will prevent it getting worse, or, just basic oral health advice. A lot of people have no clue even how to clean their teeth properly, do they? Or that they even should.
That education, and literally if you take that tooth out, the infection goes. It's as simple as that. But we need those trained people in place to be able to take the teeth out. So, yeah.
So anybody that's looking to get into helping out with Bridge2Aid or Den-Tech, what do they need to do?
So go onto either of our websites, and I won't talk for you, Andrea, but so for us, there's an area on the website. It says get involved, and there's all of the events that we've got on, and a page about volunteering. So you can either come for 1 week or 2. So it's not it's a short-term volunteering trip. We can help you raise the funds that you need to do that. Yeah, so just get in touch from the website, fill out an application form, and you can jump on one of our programs.
And what kind of roles are you looking to kind of fill? Is it dentists, therapists, technicians, nurses, or all of it?
Yes, all of the above. So from us, it would be the dentists, therapists, hygienists, nurses, and then hopefully in the future, if there's a technician that wants to get involved, then they'll reach out to Dentech and Andrea and talk to her about getting involved. And as I say, because you're the experts in that side of things, so if there's a technician that wants to get involved, having a chat with Andrea would be the best way forward.
Yeah, and then same as Shaenna, basically going through our website, we've got an inquiry form. Just get in touch, tell us what you're interested in. We'll then reach out, and whether that's working with Dentech and some of the things that we do, or working with, Bridge2Aid and us facilitating that and making sure that we've got the right people with the right skills to help the work with both charities. We're always more than happy. This isn't about just Dentech doing Dentech things, or just Bridge2Aid doing just Bridge2Aid things. Working in collaboration to make sure that those people on the ground in the areas that we serve are getting the absolute best service, regardless of politics or anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone doesn't feel that they can actually volunteer, if anyone wants to help us fundraise, it's really important that we can keep both charities going. So if anyone wants to do an event or a challenge for the two charities together, then we can obviously talk to them and give them ideas on how to do that as well.
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it? Because oral health is really important, and if you're in a place where you've not got the privilege like we do over here of having all these dental services and therapists and the oral health knowledge, and even the finance behind it, because I think these can be many factors, can't it, as to why people need a lot of dental treatment for lack of something. Is there anything that you would like to go over that we might have missed?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of good stuff happening. There's a lot of great charities out there doing some brilliant work. We're just 2 of them. Obviously, we're both a bit biased to think what we're doing is great, but there's lots of charities. I think it's about getting outside of your box sometimes, and I say this to dentists, getting out of your surgery and seeing that there's more to life than kind of their immediate surgeries. And we do quite a lot of work with dental students now as well around social accountability and community engagement. And I think it's just important that people understand there's a kind of world outside their practice. So yeah,
Lovely.
That's how I would finish, I think.
That's great. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciated the talk today.
Yeah. And thank you. It's always nice to chat and catch up with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks both of you. Thank you.